Welcome to the 24-hour reading challenge, where I'm putting my brain and my TBR stack to the ultimate test. The concept is simple: time myself when I'm reading and pause the timer when I am not, powering through as many books as humanly possible. Mostly reading with very little breaks, although maybe a couple of breaks for a couple snacks. Just a girl, her timer, and a mountain of stories in the hopes of plowing through her TBR as much as possible in 24 hours. And you guys already know what a 24-hour readathon entails. It means getting as comfortable as possible for the next 24 hours of the challenge and making sure that whatever I am wearing supports me reading for that long without feeling uncomfortable, which is why today I am partnering with Skims to show you guys exactly what I wear on an everyday basis to feel my most confident self, but also my most comfortable self. And as of late, I have been trying their ultimate push-up bra, specifically the ultimate teardrop push-up bra that I have been absolutely loving. Now, I don't know how many of you guys will be able to relate, but the girlies are no longer perky, okay? They need all the help they can get, and with their ultimate push-up bras, I have found the perfect solution. In the past, when I have tried different push-up bras, they've always been extremely bulky, unnecessarily big and uncomfortable. The padding just kind of feels like it's digging into places that they shouldn't be digging into, but trust me when I say it is nothing like that. Their teardrop push-up bra feels incredibly lightweight. The padding feels natural upon wear, and in fact, the entire ultimate push-up bra was designed to actually mimic the look of a full bust, which I really love, because instead of giving you something or a look of something that isn't there, it's just enhancing what you already have. The way this bra looks under really tight shirts like the one I'm wearing right now, it's truly a game changer. Everything's in the right spot, it all looks so natural, and it doesn't look like my breasts are hitting my chin either, so it's truly the best balance of all things you are looking for when it comes to a push-up bra. So if you would like to check out Skims' Ultimate Bra Collection, I will be leaving my link at the top of the description. You can go to skims.com/MelReads and check everything out. And if you do place an order, they have a little post-order survey that you can fill out where they'll ask you how you landed on their page and how you got your product. And if you click on YouTube, it'll give you a little drop-down menu, and then you'll see my channel, MelReads, so that you can tell them the bestie Mel sent you and taught you the ways of the Force. So don't say I did not tell you, and let us get right into our 24-hour reading challenge. Filming in public is truly something I am going to have to practice. I feel so weird out and about just filming and actually giving you like a talked out update when I am out. I think I'm so used to recording B-roll on the streets, if we will, that I feel so uncomfy, so not used to filming a talking update, but I want to practice this more. I want to practice just going out, enjoying the world, and kind of giving you updates as I go without having to wait to get home, give you an update while I'm there, and I think it also just makes the vlog a little bit more dynamic and more organic, so hopefully you can hear me fine. There's like a little bit of music going around because there's a rooftop on top of this coffee shop that I am at. It's reaching an hour where the music is getting very loud and where people are coming to get their drinks and their little happy hour. You already know the stuff. However, I've been sitting here and reading, and I have made it officially an hour and 38 minutes into the readathon. I don't know if you can see that. Hold up. There we go. That is an hour and 38 minutes into the readathon. I have paused the timer because I need to give you an update about the book I'm currently reading, which is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I have been sitting here for an hour and a half, and when I tell you, I have not stopped reading this book once. I was drinking my coffee, I was eating my little croissant, and I'm not typically the type of person that can read and eat at the same time. Like, it's either one or the other, because I can't really focus doing both. However, I did both because I couldn't stop reading the book. It was that good. I also think I am at just a point in general, which I've talked before in certain vlogs, where I've been really burnt out, where I've been kind of struggling to focus on reading sometimes and just like the everyday tasks. And this book kind of does tackle that as a theme. Our main character, Tatako, finds out that her partner hasn't been truthful in regards to their relationship. And after facing that fact and realizing that her life needs to have some change to it, she decides to move with her uncle to the Morisaki bookshop, which is the generational bookshop that her family has owned for a really long time now. And so she moves into the top floor. She starts working for him, kind of for room and board and for also food. And after she moves in with him, she starts essentially learning a lot of lessons that she needs as a person in her early 20s, as somebody who hasn't really experienced a lot of the things that she wishes she had at that point in time, or that she should have by societal standards in general. And she discovers while she is there that a lot of her conceptions that she had about herself aren't entirely true. She's always thought that she's the type of person that doesn't like reading, can't focus on reading, that that's not really a form of self-care, a form of time by herself as a hobby that she enjoys. And I love reading books that deal with characters either falling in love with a bookshop, falling in love with books. I think it's really, really fun to see characters get to a spot where they realize that that is something that they enjoy. I think that's actually so fun. And as somebody who, again, has been dealing with a lot of burnout recently, I think it is the type of book that I kind of need to remind myself as to why I love reading so much. Because after doing it for so long, you kind of lose the plot sometimes and you start focusing on, let me read these big books, let me do all of these different challenges, and you kind of forget to just do it for fun sometimes and exactly why you love it so much. And so I love that it gives me a chance to reconnect to the reason why I also love books. I love the emotional part to it. I love connecting to characters and experiencing lives that I myself have not, or to hear my feelings be echoed by a book in ways that I cannot myself at the time express. And it almost gives my brain and my feelings words when I cannot place them myself, which I think is always really lovely. And so as she falls in love with books, she falls in love with the bookshop, she starts getting to know her uncle in ways that she also has never been able to. She thinks that her uncle is like this really weird guy, super quirky. I've really loved getting to see her meet her uncle for the first time and getting to know him as his own person and getting to know who he really is versus the conception that she also had of him, and seeing her have this beautiful support system that she never even imagined that she'd get through moving to the bookshop and just working with her uncle has also been incredibly rewarding. Seeing her get to a spot where she feels supported, where she feels loved, where she feels like she's protected by the people around her, which again are things that she's never felt before, I think are all lovely things about this book. And it's made me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. I had to stop myself from crying as well as I've been sitting here reading, because it's just that type of emotional read that as you're going through it, you're like, yeah, I want to shed a couple tears, not only for the character, but also for myself, because I relate to the character's journey a lot of the time, not only in terms of her journey in searching for who she is, but also in dating and getting to know her family, which has been so far very limited for her. I think it's very, very beautiful to see so much of how I feel reflected in a book that way. And that's the point, isn't it? Like, I just think that's so fun, and finding books like that is always fantastic. One of the quotes that really resonated with me as I was reading this earlier, this is on chapter 7 of part 1. This says, "I felt a wave of relief well up from deep within me. I was protected. There was someone who worried about me, who got angry because what happened to me mattered as much as if it happened to him. For a long time, I'd let myself feel like I was totally alone in this big world, but all along there was someone close by thinking about me, looking out for me. That made me feel immensely happy." And I think what I love about translated fiction, which I've talked about before, is that feeling of loneliness encapsulated within the novel and within the characters, and the characters slowly but surely realizing that there is so much more to life and to them that they initially think. I myself am somebody who deals with a lot of feelings of loneliness. I think it's fueled a lot by my dysthymia, which is a form of chronic depression. And even though I'm surrounded by the most lovely people, and I've got some beautiful friends and beautiful family members that I know have got my back no matter what, it is so easy to feel alone, to feel lonely in a world of love and light and beauty. And I love books essentially telling me that for as much as I feel that way, it is not true. And that while it is all within me and it exists in my brain, there is actual proof to prove that I am not alone. And I also really, really love that. So a little bit of thoughts encapsulated in the coffee shop, because I'm very, very, how do I say this? Even though I'm a very extroverted person, I feel very shy right now. It's almost like feeling observed. If I tell y'all there is nobody here, let me turn the camera around real quick. There is literally nobody around me. And even though that is the case, I don't know why I'm whispering, dude. I don't know why I feel the need to whisper. I don't know. But we need to head back home because I do have Discord sprints in a little bit. It is currently 6:34 and I do have sprints at 7 because my patrons are joining me during this little timed 24-hour readathon challenge, which I think is always really fun. So we're gonna do some sprints together this evening, and I can't wait to finish this book because I don't have that much of it left. This book is super short. It's like, I think 150 pages, and I'm already on page 109. So I technically have 40 pages left, if that. So I can't wait to get home, do the sprinties, and then finish the book and tell you my final thoughts and rating. But I don't think it's going to be anything other than a 5-star. I think this book would really have to mess up in its last 40 pages for the rating to go down significantly. So just know, as a little teaser, it's going to be highly rated, I think. But I'm going to pick up one final coffee. I did have a cappuccino while I was sitting here. However, I don't want to fade. I don't want to fade tonight. I refuse to. And so I want to have another coffee, which I might end up regretting. Listen, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I'm also not saying it's a bad idea. So we're going to find out together later if it actually is a bad idea. We'll figure it out. So I'm going to go ask for another cappuccino to go, then head home, set up everything in the office, and then keep on reading. I do have obviously other reading plans in the TBR, in the potential TBR, so I have other nice things lined up after this, which I'm really excited about. Tomorrow morning, I do have therapy. I do have therapy for something I mentioned in the on-haul I did recently, for my ADHD, and so I'm a little bit scared for tomorrow. It's gonna happen at 9:30, so I do want to stay up late, but maybe not too late to the point where I'm overly exhausted by the time I have to walk into therapy, you know? Exactly, yes, thank you. So I'm gonna go ask for another coffee, and then we're gonna head home, and I will see you in a little bit. Okay, great, bye. I need to stop this. I need to stop. I feel observed. Finished my very first book for the readathon. I have to give you a little timer update so that you also know that I am exactly 2.5 hours into the readathon. So satisfying that that's when I finished the first book. I don't know, there's something about the timer hitting exactly 2:30 and then going, I finished it. So I finished my first book, Days at the Moriseki Bookshop, and I am giving it 5 full stars. This was such a nice book about reconnecting with yourself and finding your own sense of purpose in a very mundane way. I think a lot of the time the media portrays finding your sense of purpose, your sense of self, figuring out what you want to do with life in such a grand, overdone way, which obviously can be very good. It can be very entertaining. However, reality is, in your day-to-day life, some people might just be looking for a stable life, quiet existence, doing something that feels fulfilling and not necessarily change the world or do something crazy. And that's why I love the characters in this book, is because they feel so realistic. They feel like real everyday people. And so it feels so much more real than maybe other stories, other books, other narratives. And I really do love the simplicity in the story and also behind the characters in terms of what they are seeking. And also the book reinforcing the fact that a lot of these things that we are seeking, that we are making so big and almost seeming so unachievable, are sometimes so simple. There was this one quote that I highlighted because I thought it was beautiful. So, did you end up finding the place you belonged? The uncle replies, "This is it, our little rundown Morisaki bookshop. No matter where I went, no matter who I was with, if I could be honest with myself, then that was where I belonged." And I really love looking at things from different perspectives, just even on a cultural aspect. The author of the book is Japanese, and I think that, again, the framework of certain situations, of certain headspaces, through the lens of somebody who, again, belongs to a completely different culture, who may view things very differently, even just on a spiritual level, I find so deeply satisfying because, again, the framework of all of that really helps me kind of detangle my own brain sometimes when I am feeling emotions very similar to the characters in terms of, again, finding their sense of belonging, feeling lonely, but then also just finding their sense of purpose, which at times can feel so lost in the midst of life moving so quickly. And I really love the way that the book handles all of that because, again, it does it in such a mundane yet beautiful way that it really does make you want to appreciate the little things even more than you already do. The book also has consistent mentions of mental health and mental illness, which I think enriches the story as well. When you realize that a lot of the actions committed by some of these characters are driven by their mental illness or their mental struggles, I think it really humanizes the characters. It's also infuriating to an extent that sometimes they don't communicate clearly, or that some situations could have gone very differently had they made different choices. However, I think it humanizes the decision made, and it also just humanizes the character in general, because these are the things that happen on a daily basis. You know, sometimes you don't want to hurt other people, and then you end up hurting people even more when you are making a choice that feels right for yourself. And you know that you have to make that choice for the well-being of everybody, but how you go about it can make a huge difference. And I really love the emphasis of that as well throughout the story, because it kind of shows up again and again. And overall, just seeing our main character Takako, who starts out the book in a place where she doesn't really have a support system, she doesn't really have a lot of people around her save for her partner, get to the end to a spot where she's surrounded by so much love and so much beauty is absolutely fantastic. Also seeing her develop this big respect for the bookshop and how it's changed her life in really small yet definitive and important ways was also one of my favorite things. I can't wait to get the second one because it does have a sequel. I don't know what the sequel will deal with, to be quite honest. I need to read the synopsis to see what that'll tackle, because I'm sure it can bring new lessons into our main character's life, assuming that it still deals with her. So we'll see when the time comes. However, I do know what I'm going into next, okay? And that is going to be Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 2. As you know, I recently read Volume 1 and I absolutely fell in love with the series. I ordered a copy of Volume 2. It got here and it is a part of my monthly TBR. So the next natural step, I think, is to go to a manga. It's already 8:22 p.m. even though we're only 2.5 hours into the readathon. It is quite late into the night. I mean, I did have a second coffee, but listen, I think something like this, which doesn't require too much, you know, manpower, I feel like it'll be really nice. So I can't wait to get this read tonight, give you the updates, see where we go. I'm gonna do a little soft reset, just, you know, go to the bathroom, do all the things while the timer is paused, and then get back into reading and restarting the timer. I'll update you probably when I finish the volume. I feel like it's always the way to go with manga because it's so short. Second book of the readathon is done! We are doing so good. However, I am concerned that the amount of books I was planning to read throughout the entire 24 hours is now not going to be enough, and I'm probably gonna have to choose something else to read during these 24 hours because we have hit hour 4, which means we have got exactly 20 hours left of the challenge. And one of the books I am planning on reading, which is essentially my last one I was planning to read during the 24 hours, I evidently didn't think this TBR through. The audiobook is 10 hours, and I'm likely going to go back and forth between the physical and then the audio because I am currently crocheting a bag. Let me show you. This is like such an aside, but I am crocheting a bag, and the bag is made up of panels like these, and this is the first panel. I have got to make one exactly like this, same size. I am nearly done with that, and then I have to make 2 more panels that are a little bit smaller than this, but still not that big a difference, and I really want to make as much progress with that project as much as possible over the weekend. So I figured listening to that other book, again, alternating back and forth, would be nice to get this done. So now I'm like, okay, if I finish that book in essentially 10 hours or less, which is possible, where do I go to next? I'll have to figure that out because I didn't factor the possibility of me reading more. This is interesting. I should have known because the only other time I've done this challenge, which was 3 years ago, it was so long ago, I think I ended up reading like 5 or 6 books in 24 hours, which is crazy if you think about it, but I did. So, not that far-fetched an idea. However, Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 2 is another 5-star. Such a good start to this video. 5 stars back to back is exactly where I needed to be this weekend. I have already talked about the series before. I've obviously started this super recently, but I have immediately fallen in love with the characters and the story. And something that Volume 2 did, which is something I adore, is include a character with religious delusions. Somebody who thinks that they are divinely sent by God to purge the world of a very specific something, in this case, alchemists, and essentially excusing their lack of morality and humanity because God has sent them to do something. I love those types of characters. The Lulu is the true Lulu. It is so entertaining because when you dive into the specifics of why a character acts and things that way, I think is so very interesting. And to see this character so strongly express their distaste of alchemists while they perform alchemy. So it's a huge double standard, very hypocritical. And then they utilize religion to shield themselves from critique. Give it all to me. It is so good. So that aspect of Volume 2, I really, really enjoyed. In this one, we follow 2 brothers, Edward and Alphonse, who in the midst of an alchemical ritual, one of the brothers ends up losing an arm and a leg, whilst the other completely loses their physical body. And Edward ends up binding his brother Alphonse to a metal armor, a suit of armor, in order to keep his soul alive while he figures out how to reinstate his physical body as well as those limbs that he lost. This journey is not easy, and they start believing that the only way that they can reclaim those things, because in alchemy everything's a give and take, if you are transmuting something then it demands something in return, he thinks that the only way to do this is through the Philosopher's Stone, which is one of the biggest, most mystical feats in alchemy. In this volume we see them meet new characters, we also get a ton of world building, we also get some of their backstory as siblings, and the way that this expanded on what we found out and saw initially in Volume 1, I thought was wonderful, to the point where now I'm wondering if Volume 1 was a 4-star and this is the true 5-star, because this was even better than Volume 1, but I do think they're neck and neck with being 2 5-stars. I think the series just goes off to a great start. In this one, we essentially see the backstory to the military that Edward is affiliated to. As a state alchemist, he works for the military, does their bidding. However, in this world, that's really frowned upon by a lot of people, given the tough history of genocide, the tough history of civil war that's been happening in this world specifically. And so he faces a lot of backlash for it, despite not being like his equals. And that's something that keeps on coming up in the series, is that we're meeting a lot of characters that aren't like that stereotype that people have in their minds about state alchemists. And I really love seeing these characters have a heart, really do care, be very empathetic towards people's circumstances, and be so willing to help. I really loved some of the characters that were introduced in this one, like Winry and Granny, and also Armstrong. I thought they were such fun characters to introduce in the second volume, because I think it really humanizes a world that also feels so grandiose. You know, you're talking about alchemy and transmuting and making something out of nothing, and all of that feels so unattainable, so fantastical, so out of this world, that when you include characters like that, which are not only easy to care for, but that also are very caring, it makes the story so much better. And that's something I had already heard about the series, is that the characters are a big chunk of why people love Fullmetal Alchemist, and I see why. Edward and Alphonse's relationship to each other as siblings, their devotion, their loyalty, their love, their compassion, the way that they just keep each other on their toes, but also very real. If they see the other act out of character, or if they need the other to snap into it, really react to something very specifically because they have a very specific moral code. I love how they feed off of each other as characters, and how, despite the fact that the world is in such a state of chaos, they really do have each other. Finding out that they are 14 and 15 respectively was a shock, because it's been a joke in the series so far that Edward is very small. He gets very angry when he gets called small, and I just thought that he was maybe on the adult side, but he was just, you know, height-wise smaller. However, when I found out that he's actually still just a kid, which I should have known because this is a shonen manga, I was shocked. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, but I wasn't. Like, they're still babies and they're doing so much. They're, you know, playing with power that, while they do understand how to handle, they don't understand where it comes from or exactly the extent of the things that it can do. Low-key heartbreaking that they have to deal with all this at such a young age, and I'm still really trying to process how young they are, because I, again, wasn't expecting it. So I need to place an order for volume 3, because again, not only do I want to keep going on with the series, but I also want to collect it physically. These are the Full Metal editions, so they're hardcover. It's got a nice little foiling at the start of it. It's got a nice little like transparent page that then leads into a full art. I think it's so nice. So I definitely want to have like one of these mini shelves just filled with like all, well, it's backwards, all, you know, all the volumes of Fullmetal Alchemist, because I think it's 16 of them. So it essentially would take up an entire shelf. That would look so cool. So I really want to do that. And I think it's also going to be fun to read a volume or two a month. So definitely need to get on that so that I can either, again, read volume 3 in May or put that potentially in my June TBR. And now for my third book, which I thought would be my last book for the readathon. I really didn't think that through. I don't know why in my delusional brain I thought, oh my god, yeah, I'm going to read 3 books in a timed 24-hour readathon. That's just not how it works. But that's gonna be Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. I am so excited to read this. I do have the audiobook on deck. I listened to the audiobook for book 1, so I already know that the narrator is very, very good, and that they just put on such wonderful inflections and tones when they're narrating the story, where it makes it feel so alive as a story. So I can't wait to listen to that as I'm doing some crocheting tomorrow. I just know that if I do some crocheting tonight, I am absolutely going to fall asleep earlier than I intend to. So definitely not tonight, but tomorrow it will be one of the endeavors to embark on. I am planning on reading maybe for like 2 to 3 more hours. Definitely not more than 3, simply because one, I don't think I can stay up for too long. Like I was already fading as I was finishing Fullmetal Alchemist. I was even thinking of taking like a full-blown shower, like an everything shower. Wash the hair, do all the things. Do I really want to do that tonight? Maybe not, but you never really know. It's a great way to wake up. So I might. You never really know with me. But I also think it'd be really nice to catch an everything shower after therapy tomorrow, because it helps you cleanse and reset. I think that might also be nice tomorrow instead of tonight. Anyways, all that to say, I am going to start this physically because I think it's just the way to go for right now. I am also wrapping up Discord sprints, so I should be able to lay in bed, or maybe on the couch in the living room. I'm trying to figure out where I won't fall asleep. We'll figure it out, but I'm definitely ready to sit down and start this physically and see where Vera Wang takes us in book 2. Nearly halfway through Vera Wang's guide to snooping on a dead man, which is Vera Wang number 2, and I have yet to give you a single update because I've just been reading this all morning long without being able to stop to give you guys any form of an update. However, I am on page 146. I'm currently taking a little break from reading so that I can make a tea. I had dim sum this morning, also influenced by Vera, because the food and the tea emphasis in the book was just too strong a force for me to not order dim sum, especially with the amount of times that shumai and dumplings were mentioned. So I got myself some shumai, some hakao, and then some soy gao, I believe it's called, which is fried wonton with a shrimp filling. So good. Every time it hits all the right spots every time. I am also making lemon ginger tea, and I'm gonna splash a little bit of honey in here. This is my favorite kind of tea to have. I am not usually a tea person unless it's the right brew or the right style. I just don't think my taste buds really agree with tea, and I just don't particularly love it. But lemon ginger honey tea, it just settles all kinds of right into my stomach. I have loved it for years. Maybe I was conditioned in my theater years to just love it so much because it's really helpful for the throat and to help the vocal cords really open up and to keep them healthy. I don't know, it just kind of has stuck around. I also just realized that the Yogi teas have got a little message at the back. This is not the brand I typically get of lemon ginger tea, but it's the one I found at the grocery last time I went, at the grocery store. And then this says, let the opportunities come to you. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Let me grab a little spoon so that we can mix the honey into our tea and chat a little bit about Vera Wang. I am really loving the second book, and you know when you're going into a second book in a series and you're kind of scared that it's not going to live up to the expectation of the first one, especially the first one being a 5-star for me. But this second book is equally as good. It still retains all of its charm. Vera as a protagonist is still so heartwarming, so entertaining, and yet every bit as infuriating yet lovable as you'd expect somebody in their 60s to be. Vera is that meddling grandma figure who wants to butt into everybody's lives, play matchmaker, be on top of everything, save everybody, cook everybody a good meal to make sure that their stomachs don't go by unattended. And I just really, really love it. I think I also really love the element of the main cast of characters all swinging very young or in their mid-20s, early 30s, and then Vera doubling their age or tripling their age. So when their interactions take place, Vera is so very out of the know, and I love it. I love when somebody's like, oh, you know, we're recording a video of you cooking, you need to eat it at the end, and she goes, why? Is that a pervert video? And she's just definitely not understanding people's drifts or just the more modern culture, but she thinks that she is very hip and very in the know. Everybody's got a Vera in their lives, which is why I think this book is so fun, because when you read it, you can reflect that to a singular or many different people in your life that sort of behave the same way, and it makes the experience more endearing. But essentially in the second one, we follow, obviously, Vera Wong, who owns her own tea shop in Chinatown in San Francisco. And she is known herself to be, again, the meddling Chinese mother. Who better to take care of you? Who better than to know better? Who better to solve a crime than a Chinese mother is kind of her motto. Book one wraps up definitively, so none of that transposes into this book. We only see the cast of characters from that first one in this one, whilst also introducing a new set of characters with an entirely new mystery to solve, and that comes in the form of Millie, who Vera encounters at the entrance of the police station, who claims that her best friend and somebody that she deeply loves has gone missing. She doesn't know the truth behind his disappearance or exactly what happened, but she knows that something has gone wrong. And the beauty of a book like this, especially introducing a supporting cast of characters surrounding Vera, is that everybody's a suspect, okay? So she will go down every single rabbit hole to try and figure out who did it, whilst also taking care of them, and deeply, exasperately, desperately hoping that none of them actually committed a crime. And so Vera finds out that this friend, who is actually a very big influencer, has actually been found dead by the police. And Vera, in her bout of ego and self-confidence, thinks that nobody will solve this case but her. She did it in book one, so she can do it again. And she takes it upon herself to start investigating Xander's life. Who is he? Why did he die? Was he murdered? What exactly was happening in his life? And why does nobody that was around him seem to know exactly who he was? And what are all of these people hiding that they have yet to be forthcoming about? And the process of that is so amazing in this book, which I think really sets it apart from other, you know, cozy mysteries, murder mysteries, is that while a lot of them kind of infringe on that campy territory, Vera Wong is very much more heartfelt. You see Vera form these connections with people that she is just now getting to know. As the reader, you are also getting to know them, and she immediately takes on motherly, grandmotherly roles with people that she doesn't know. She takes them under her wing, and she makes sure that they are taken care of, and that any aspect of their life that is lacking, she can provide. And she takes pride in that. She takes pride in being stable, in being a provider, in being somebody that people can lean on. And I think that's the most beautiful aspect of this book, is that while yes, it is about finding out exactly what happened to, you know, the person found dead, it's so much more about the character and the character relationships, and how often your family is that which you choose, or that which you choose to expand on the one you already have. Vera has her son Tilly that we see her kind of get a better relationship out of throughout the first book, and then also the second one. It seems that they are now tighter and that they are more close in communication than before. And despite the fact that she does have her son, she's adopting other kids along the way, other 30-year-old kids that she wants to now take care of. And I really love that about the experience, because that is, I think, everything you'd expect out of the premise of something like this. And so I love it. I love how Vera constantly messes with people. It's like she knows how to play her cards right, and she knows that she can play up the elderly grandma figure, but she's not vulnerable, and she's not clueless, and she is not, you know, without her cunning and without her assertiveness. She's very aware of what she's doing, but she utilizes all of those old school tactics to manipulate the people around her. And I'm not saying that that's good, but it is very entertaining to observe. And also because the second book has got a strong social media element, I was anticipating it to be a gag in terms of how Vera is somewhat out of touch with the modern world and how she doesn't really know the same lingo, obviously, as millennials and Gen Z. And I thought that was a perfect opportunity for the book to have even more comedic openings and more just crazy moments with Vera and her takes and her opinions that she doesn't realize are outdated or insensitive or whatnot. And I love that Jessie Sutanto as an author is delivering. Like, I love the emphasis on Vera, again, not understanding socials, but thinking that she's hip and that she's in the know with Gen Zers, but she is so out of the loop that it's crazy, and yet she still thinks that she's all that. And so I love her. I love her sense of confidence, even in things that she doesn't fully understand. I just love her. She's so good. The story is amazing. I can't wait to keep on reading this. So I'm about to go into the office and keep reading this book and see how long it'll take me to finish it. But so far, this is a success. And I think we're about to get 3 5-stars in a row, which would actually be crazy. It's never happened during a readathon. It would be the very first time something like that happened. So we'll see. I think I'm a little bit fidgety today too. So I am thinking that I am going to lay on the ground and read on the ground. I know it's maybe a little bit weird, but it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna set up a little blanket, some pillows, and then just lie there and in the office because I'm sprinting right now. So you know what? It'll be a moment. It will be a moment. So I'm gonna take my book and we're gonna take the cup of tea. This area is too hot. I don't want to burn myself. And we're gonna go into the office. Yes. I just need y'all to know that I was fading, and so we have made it back to my favorite coffee shop, the one we were in yesterday, 10 hours and 50 minutes into the readathon, and I officially have 60, actually less than that. I have got 52 pages left of Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man, so I'll give you updates once I'm done, but so far, I do think it's going to be a 5-star. So this was a great decision to keep on reading. Otherwise, I think I was very much going to fall asleep. And we're going to chat about why when I get home, because I got some news today that really messed with my psyche. And getting out of the house was the right call. So I'm very excited to be here. And now I'm excited to keep on reading because we are nearing hour 11. And that is amazing progress. Hello friends, welcome back home. We are back home together as you've been on this journey with me. So I take you with me, you come back home with me. It is currently 7:27 p.m. and I am officially giving you a little time update because I think I keep forgetting to give you the timestamp updates. 11 hours and 41 minutes into the readathon. We are also about 26 to nearly 27 hours into the overall challenge. So being halfway through the 24 hours or nearly there, honestly, not that bad for a full day and a little bit. So I'm confident that we can finish this, hopefully. If not by tomorrow night, then by Monday morning, because today is Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. However, I had to get out of the apartment. I was not really planning on going out today. I was planning on doing most of my reading at home and focusing here. However, yesterday I did update you guys on the fact that I had therapy this morning because I did some very serious ADHD testing at the end of April. and I've been waiting for the results to come in and to have a session with my therapist to figure out exactly what that whole situation is looking like and to get a potential full diagnosis, because even though I know I have, or I had rather, a lot of hyperactive tendencies, I knew I leaned that way. I didn't have a full diagnosis. And today it came back that I not only have the hyperactive end of the attention deficit disorder, but I have ADHD-C, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder combined, which means that I not only have the hyperactive, but I also have the inattentive. And it kind of messed with my psyche at first. It was very overwhelming. I'm very relieved to obviously have the full diagnostic now and to know exactly why my brain functions the way that it does, because I also on the test back got that it's been that way my entire life. And so a lot of the things that I didn't quite comprehend when I was young are now starting to get framed in this full picture of ADHD-C, and also the latest bout of burnout I've been going through that you guys know I've talked about before in another one of the vlogs that I put up quite recently, can also be explained by the inattentive side of my attention deficit disorder, which apparently is stronger than my hyperactive side, which I did not realize. Coming to terms this morning with the fact that I have been masking for over 20 years, and that even though I qualify as a highly functional person or somebody who has figured out ways to implement techniques to have as efficient an everyday as possible, it's like having to reframe who you are as a person and the way that your brain works in ways that you weren't really expecting. And that's to say, it's not that I wasn't expecting it, because I kind of knew what I was gonna get back on the test. But to see so many situations I have gone through throughout my life be framed through the lens of ADHD-C in the test itself was honestly just brain shattering in a good but overwhelming way. And I just kept flashing back to things that I have obviously been doing for a really long time, or things that I did as a kid that suddenly have a name to it. And I was a little bit overwhelmed this morning. I couldn't fully focus on reading. I was trying. Then it was also just super gloomy here today in Panama, and so the rain was really strong. There was no sun, which the gloominess of it all, although very cozy, was also not helping my psyche. And so I had a stream this morning on Patreon, but then I was like, you know what? I feel like I just need to get out of the apartment. I need to go somewhere else. I need to kind of distract my brain. And it worked out, because I actually did finish my third book for the readathon, which is Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. And this has never happened before. I mean, first of all, having finished 3 books before we even hit the halfway mark of the readathon, insane to me, but also back to back 5 stars. I am 3 for 3. 3 5 stars in a single video is something that is completely unheard of in my channel. It swings so much between 2, 3, 4, and 5 stars in a single video that getting 3 back to back feels absolutely wild to me. But here we are. Book 3 was also a 5 star. The latter half of this book had me incredibly emotional, to the point where I actually couldn't contain my tears this go around. Yesterday, I did manage to not cry while I was reading Days at the Morisaki bookshop. I couldn't help it today. I did cry while I was at the coffee shop reading Vera Wong, because I didn't realize where the book would turn towards the last third in terms of what actually happened to Sander, the influencer that was found dead, and exactly what he was involved in, and exactly what the investigation led to. I wasn't expecting it at all. The signs were always there, and it's funny because these are things that the book drops kind of early on as Easter eggs, but then if you don't hang on to them, then it's harder to figure out. And I was just having such a good time that I wasn't really thinking about, ooh, what's it gonna be at the end, which you guys know I love to do. Kind of love to get ahead of myself and make theories about what's gonna happen and try and figure it out before the characters do. I really couldn't do it in this one. I think I was so engaged the whole way through that my brain didn't really have space to guess anything. And I loved this. I love, as always with Vera Wong, I love the sense of found family, how they all create a safe space for each other where safe spaces have not been in their lives before, how Vera will go above and beyond to make sure that the people around her are safe and that they have got everything that they need. The way that all of these people who have met through very crazy, unlikely circumstances rally around each other to have each other's back no matter what was honestly so beautiful. It's like the Avengers framed through a cozy murder mystery, and I absolutely love it. I loved the last third of the book and seeing all of the characters come together to bring us one final epic ending that wraps up the story in the most horrifyingly beautiful way with a great sense of justice. And so I loved this one. I don't know if I loved it more than the first one, but low key, I think the characters in this one, I mean, much like the first one, it's like so neck and neck. Like the quality of these books are so good. I love all of the backstory for the characters. It was so easy to emotionally connect to all of them. There's a constant thread throughout the series. I mean, starting with Vera in book 1 and then going to a lot of the new characters we were introduced to in the second book about loneliness and not finding your place in this world and not having that sense of community that so often can piece you back together. And I love that it comes up in this book a lot of all of these people are broken. You know, when they get to Vera and these crazy circumstances are going on, they get to Vera essentially in pieces, not knowing who they are, not knowing where to go next, you know, having lost their sense of individuality and purpose, feeling very lonely, a lot to do with also mental illness and mental health, and Vera slowly but surely piecing these people back together uniquely by showing them love and a place of belonging. And I love it. I love that despite the fact that Vera is, you know, very peculiar as a main character, and she can often breach into insensitive commentary and out of touch comments as well. She is so understanding of people's circumstances, and she is so open to the world and for the world to echo back and for her to just continue to learn and try new things. She is so fearless, even in her moments of delulu, which really do encapsulate Vera as a character. Even in all of her moments of delulu, she is always so open to new experiences and to new people, and I love that. And I also just love how delulu she is. The fact that she has made up this picture in her mind of who she is and that she's a pillar of her community, which I mean she is, but not to, I think, the extent or through the lens that she's viewing it from. And I just love her own perception of herself. There is truly nobody more confident than Vera. Getting to see Winifred as well as her Chinese mother rival in this one was also so fun. To see them interact in such similar ways and them getting pestered by each other and then getting so pissy at each other was honestly so fun. And the way that this book wraps up not only confirms that we're gonna get a third book, but that we're also gonna see a whole lot more of Winifred and Vera together, and that I am really excited to see, because now 2 meddling Chinese mothers, I really want to see that. I'm really excited about the potential third book whenever that's announced. But this right here, 5 stars all the way through. Now, however, I need to figure out what my 4th book is going to be for this readathon, because if there's something I didn't factor in, would be the fact that I would read more than 3 books. I thought this would be my last one for the readathon, so I need to figure out what that 4th book is going to be. And I still have obviously 2 books left in my May TBR. If you've watched my TBR video, then you know what those 2 books are, but we've got options, so we need to head to the office and figure out which of these 2 is the one I'm going to next, but I have a feeling I know which one it's gonna be. All right, friends, we are in the office and it is time to make choices in terms of what I'm gonna pick up next. I think I already know. For me, in my head, is to pick up a fantasy book, and I only have one fantasy book in my TBR this month, so I'm thinking that maybe what I need to pick up next is The Adventures of Amin al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty, because I'm really excited about this, and I kind of want to hold on to that excitement before I get intimidated again by the notion of reading a book set out at sea. I feel like I have to take advantage of that momentum, if you know what I mean. So I think this is where I'm going to next. So I'm gonna set up camp in the living room. We're gonna start the book over there. I'm gonna try and find a good ambiance for this. I don't know what is gonna go well with this, but I will just read the first couple of pages and figure out what kind of music I want, because I thrive with a good little ambiance playing in my ears, whether it's the combination of rain and then also some music or just some music, but it helps me focus a lot more. So I love doing it and kind of finding the right music for a specific book. And I don't know how epic or expansive this is going to be, but we're going to figure it out together so that we can also figure that out and see what we'll listen to. So we'll go out there because I kind of want to, again, hang out in the living room. Haven't done that yet during this readathon. I feel like I've been pretty holed up here in the office, if not at the coffee shop, then here. And so I feel like it's time to head on over there, do the thing. All right, plot twist. First of all, I sampled Amina al-Sirafi, and when I tell you, my brain processed everything I read as too many big words, which means that my brain is just fatigued of so much reading this weekend, and then I think the therapy session today didn't help, so I feel like I'm very mentally exhausted. So what I ended up doing was sampling As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, which is another book from my May TBR, and I think my brain is processing this a lot better, a lot easier. So I think I'm gonna stick to this book. However, despite hitting the 12-hour and 30-minute mark into my 24-hour readathon, which means that we are a little over halfway through, I'm tired. I am exhausted. So although I want to give up, it's where my brain's going. My brain's like, Mel, you already read 3 books. You don't have to keep on going with it. You can give yourself permission to just let go. I cannot bring myself to just not finish the challenge or even attempt to. So I'm gonna turn in right now. I'm gonna go to bed, get a good night's rest, make sure that my brain gets the rest that it deserves. And then tomorrow, we are going to tackle the remaining 11 and a half hours. I don't think all tomorrow, but hopefully as much as possible, because tomorrow, my friends, is a new day. And also, for proof, I love that my eyes are like tiny. I can't even, that's just it. That's the full sentence. 12 hours, 26 minutes exactly. Rounded up to 12:30. At this point, 12:26 might as well be 12:30. But I'll see you guys tomorrow, because if I try to read right now, it's just not gonna happen. Buenas noches, jóvenes. Besties, I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I failed. I failed the 24-hour reading challenge. And the only reason why I'm saying I failed it is because the last time we filmed was on Saturday, and today's Tuesday. And I have not read anything since, and I told myself the real challenge was completing the 24 hours in the span of a weekend. However, I think getting the results back on the ADHD I think really threw me off there for a second, and I just could not find my footing again after that with the reading. After I finished Vera Wong, I just could not bring myself to read at the same pace or to be able to focus that much. And so I took the rest of the weekend off to just kind of process, chat with my mom, chat with my family about it, and just in general take care of myself after the whole madness of the weekend. But I will say, this is a lesson, okay? Hear me out. Stay with me here for a second. I did end up reading 3 different books throughout the course of the 12 hours that I did complete. So we're talking Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 2, which was a 5-star. I also read Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, another 5-star, and Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on the Dead Man, another 5-star. And sometimes in life, you can't beat quality by reading more, right? And so I'll take my win. I'll take my loss of I'm still missing 12 hours on the timer. However, I'll take my win because I read 3 5-star books and I did so in 12 hours. And that in and of itself is a win, especially given the facts that for the last 2.5 months, I haven't been able to read at this pace. This right here was surprising, and I did not expect to read this much. And could I finish 3 other books in the remaining 12 hours I've got left? Absolutely. But do I have to push myself there? The answer is no. And I think I'm trying to reinforce that a lot of, can you do these things? Yes. Does that mean that you necessarily have to do them? No. Can does not equal have. And in this particular scenario, I think, obviously with Booktube, challenges are fun, and doing it is all sorts of challenging and out of the box. I've done it before as well, with timing myself for 24 hours or trying to read as much as possible for 24 hours. But is it really worth reading for a full 24 hours if you're gonna come out of that burnt out? The answer is no. And so here, practicing some empathy with myself and allowing myself to stop after we reach a certain point. And listen, 12 hours and 50 minutes, still a win. I'll take it. 3 5 stars. You can't really beat that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. Also, make sure to comment if you have read any of the books I read in this video and what you thought of them, if you liked them, if you disliked them, what have you been up to recently, what have been your latest reads. So let a girl know all of that in the comments. And if you reach the very end of the video, let us leave some. Ooh, I'm trying to figure out of these 3 books, what's like something that really struck me here. You know what? There's a bicycle on the cover of Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. So if you find a bicycle emoji, make sure to leave that down in the comments if you reach the very end of the video. Make sure to subscribe as well if you haven't done so already for more content like this. And as always, if you guys want to support the channel further, it is always massively appreciated. Patreon is always linked down below. We have a book club, a Discord server, a ton of exclusive content and live shows and things you can enjoy outside of YouTube, which is always really fun. So if you would like to connect a little bit closer, but to also get all of that added stuff and support the channel extra, Patreon is always there. In fact, my patrons participated with me on this challenge, so it's always a little 2 for 1. I do something, they get that something too a lot of the time. So that was a lot of fun. If you don't want to miss out in the future, you know where to go. I love you guys so much, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye!